I'm still.
We are
What
live.
is going on? Awesome. We're live. This is episode, it was going to be 0, but now it's episode 1 because we're going to jump in and do it live. So why not? Me and Horny Alf know a lot about that. Being in the military is just, you got to go. You got a time that you got to take off. We call it an SP time, a start time or whatever. And just kind of figure out along the way. But yeah, this is Pop Culture Patriots. We talk about entertainment, good, the bad, and the pukey, and everything in between. Could be games, could be movies, shows, and just go over different stuff. We've all been on different shows and been a part of other shows and just figuring it out. So yeah, I'm Drew Outstanding on Twitter, on X, on YouTube. I'm Operation Outstanding in Field, where I do a lot of adaptive sports and talk about my story with the military. But for this one, we're just going to talk more entertainment and stuff like that. So the show is going to go at least an hour, no more than 2, depending on how rowdy things get, which is fine by us. We just want to have an awesome conversation, but keep it flowing too. So yeah, we're excited, learning along the way. For sure, we don't have it all figured out, but most channels, even big ones, don't have it figured out either because things change over time. Constantly. Yeah. And so, yeah, that's me, Army veteran, 15 years, and then career cut short. Now I'm figuring out a new thing with consulting, doing speaking engagements, and talking about leadership and development that I've fell into, and just in my new, I guess, career path is what I'm doing. But yeah, I'm learning skills. So that's me. I'm going to throw it over to Horny Alf. Who are you? What do you do?
All right. For those who are watching that don't already know me, I'm a veteran. I spent 20 years in the Air Force, retired back in June. I am currently working as a contractor, which is why I can't show my face. But that was about a year and a half ago I started my channel, and one of my biggest inspirations were the guys in this side of the internet. You know, people like Gary and Az. They were my inspirations for starting a channel. I told Gary that. I told Drunk 3PO that. He was one of my inspirations as well. Started the channel because I like gaming, so I was like, I'm going to do a gaming channel. I do a little bit of retro, a little bit of modern stuff. But yeah, I've actually started branching out, doing some new stuff. I've been doing videos reacting to Warhammer 40K lore, which has been actually decent for my channel. But
awesome. So that's what you're playing lately?
For as far as games, at least once a week we play Warhammer Darktide. I've also got Warhammer Vermintide that we play on Saturdays, and then occasionally I'll drop in a Space Marine 2 stream. So it's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
But
what movies or shows have you watched recently?
We can go ahead and talk about that now. Well, we can go into more detail later if you want. But
yeah, just titles.
I recently signed up for Apple TV, and I'm surprised with the shows that I like on it. Masters of the Sky, made by some of the same people that did the Band of Brothers. Really good show. Also a movie called Greyhound. It's about an hour and a half. It's another World War II movie. Pretty cool. And then Silo is actually pretty good too, which is kind of like what Fallout should have been, the Fallout show. More serious tone, more boating tone. You know, it's darker. You know, so
awesome.
That's where I'm
cool.
at.
And then we got Tiny but Fierce here.
Howdy.
Who are you? What do you do?
Well, I'm Tiny but Fierce at Won't Be Boxed on X/Twitter, whatever you want to call it. I am not an actual veteran, but I did planned to serve for pretty much my whole life since I was about 6. And so I love and respect the military, and you can sort of see from my picture.
Oh, yeah.
I do. You will be able to see my face sometimes because I am not a contractor. I am disabled, and I do speaking and online activism for chronic pain and for people with severe chronic illnesses that are known as ICIs, invisible chronic illnesses. So you look really good on the outside, but on the inside, you're fucked. Damn it,
Yep.
I just cursed.
That's okay. Well, speaking of that, yeah, we're doing more of a PG-13 if we can handle it. It might not always be that way.
I am trying to work on my language. If the chat wants to keep me honest, that's cool too.
Yeah, maybe in the future we switch to like Rumble and then just let it all hard type deal. But yeah, like the idea of having a wide audience, and then get go a little crazy because that happens with veterans and patriots. And service members.
Real quick.
Oh wow, I didn't know Tomby had that. Yeah. Oh my God, CRPS is evil.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like we all have our own story. It
Yep.
changes along the way. We figure out life. There's no game plan, and it's about whatever you want to call it, community, fellowship, and yeah, I'm big in the quotes, so I'm gonna throw a lot of quotes and monologues and stuff like that out there. But yeah, no man, no person is an island. So yeah, we got to kind of keep a connection.
I love learning new great quotes, so this will be fun.
Awesome. Yeah, and this will be a small panel stream, not a 10-person, more like a 6 at most. So we can just get through some really cool discussions.
Yep.
Oh, and as I was saying before I went off on a tangent was you will get to see my face some days, and some days you will not, just because the pain and shit. I don't feel up to being on camera, but you will get it some days. So if that's something that you actually care about, come back and check.
What super chats kind of come in to get you on screen, maybe.
There you go.
Awesome. But yeah, these are our people right now, the 3 of us. We'll have some regulars that will come in from time to time, our trusted regulars, and then we'll just kind of bring in a guest here or there. But yeah, it'll probably 6. But yeah, so that's kind of the plan. I'm gonna throw it back to Alf, and then we're gonna jump into some topics.
Well, did you want to go through acknowledge the chat, or do you want me to do that?
Yeah, do that. Since Alf is hosting, so he's got his followers.
Of course, Legatus Legis, my wrench extraordinaire. He's at every one of my streams. He's here. He made it first. Him and Lex Udendi are always fighting to see who can get in the chat first. So, Tomby was here as well. Sup to Drew. Thought I was already. Bad Tomby.
Thank you.
Galadorn's here. He's a regular on Tomby's streams as well. Who else we got?
I see a Weasel.
Yeah, Weasel just popped in. He's a regular on my streams as well. So,
I believe he's not a furry.
No. He's actually, well, I don't want to reveal.
That's what I heard recently.
Yeah. But yeah, that's what we got for the ones that are actually talking in the chat. So,
awesome.
looks like we got 45 people watching at this moment.
Nice. Wow.
That's awesome.
I think that's between all the platforms though. So.
Yep, a couple of us are sharing to different spaces. So yeah, thanks for checking it out. Alf?
All right, topics? As far as topics. So Drew, you're a gamer, right?
I'm an old gamer, I guess. Quickly. Yeah, let's talk about that. Like who we are about pop culture. So I guess I would classify myself as a retro gamer, I guess you'd call it. I'm getting more into playing them again. I just bought a
show off your merch.
Well, it's not a merch, it's ability to have something. So it's a video capture device. So I'm gonna be able to hook up because what I do have is an NES, a couple of them, Super Nintendo 64,
nice.
Sega. I can't remember the exact name of it, but yeah, Sega Genesis. And then, PlayStation 2. I don't think I have that anymore, but I played the hell out of that. Yeah, Xbox 360 was my jam for Halo.
Nice.
And then somebody just gave me a PS4, so I just been kind of playing Star Wars Fallen Order Jedi. Those kind
Jedi
of
Fallen Order.
yeah. Between those and Arkham Asylum or Arkham series was the last ones I really got into, and then it was just all career and then medical stuff. But
Yeah,
that's my gaming things. I would say my game of all time has to be Contra on the NES.
nice.
But other than that, physical media is my jam. So I buy DVDs, VHS, whatever VHS I can find, I will buy those quickly. So I'm starting to get an arsenal of VHS
Nice.
and everything. So yeah, the physical media guy, that's kind of my jam. And then any good shows or movies on streaming. I'm rewatching Game of Thrones right now because I watched House of the Dragon.
Mhm.
And then I went to Game of Thrones again, and it's awesome because they're giving House of the Dragon spoilers basically in Game of Thrones, which is
Mhm.
awesome. Yeah, so I'm kind of enjoying that. I'm at the point now where it's past the books, and you could see just how it goes downhill. But yeah, we could talk about that later. So that's my thing. Tiny, what's your experience with pop culture, and what are you a
well,
subject matter expert about?
well, I will leave the gaming to you two until I finally get battered and into finally starting a game at some point. I've never done any video gaming at all. I am convinced that I will take much longer to open a door than Gary did. And so that will be you two. I will not have much input in that. But when it comes to TV
Genres,
shows and
IP.
sci-fi and books, and then you go into comics, I'm big on that. I have been since I was a kid, so I'm pretty well read. I also got into manga and anime especially after I got sick, and I have pretty in-depth knowledge for those. Kind of embarrassing level of knowledge for those sometimes. And classic sci-fi novels and stuff like Anne McCaffrey or Dragonlance or any of those.
Good.
Nice.
What about you, Alf? Genres, types of media?
Well, I would say for the most part, gaming. I've been playing video games since the NES, and I am a retro game console collector. I've got some pretty obscure game consoles. Doing one example, the Atari Jaguar, the last Atari console that ever came out. Last I checked, and that was a few years ago, it was like $500 for the console and all the hookups and controllers. It's the retro game collecting market has gone through the roof the last couple of years. It got really bad during COVID. Still do gaming. That's what my channel is focused on, modern gaming. I don't have a lot of money for my channel, so I play the games I can't afford to play. Other than that, for pop culture, I really love Tolkien. Anything Tolkien, I love that. I'm more of a normie when it comes to Game of Thrones, just watching like the actual, video media. I haven't read any of the books. I'm a normie when it comes to like Dune, but I really love Star Trek. I grew up with Star Trek: The Next Generation. Watched all the old Star Trek movies, the original, like the first six. Went back and watched the original series, DS9, Voyager, Enterprise. And unfortunately, I watched the first 2 seasons of TDS or what is it called? Discovery? Whatever.
Yeah.
That show was awful.
You are a braver, stronger man than I. I got through half of season 1 and just could not.
Well, I got a little bit into season 3, but I was in so much pain I couldn't finish it. It's so stupid.
Seriously.
And then as far as that goes, that's a lot of sci-fi, Star Wars. I was a big Star Wars kid. I love the originals. I like parts of the prequels. Everything after that is shit.
Yeah. I grew up with an uncle who was one of those you have to be Star Wars or Star Trek type peoples.
Oh, nice.
And I was constantly saying, like, my generation can be both.
Star Trek Discovery. Yeah. He corrected me. STD.
There you go. Yeah, well, speaking of that, I never got into Star Trek. I got more into Star Wars. So I have the original right here, trilogy on VHS. Watched those a million times, and then the prequels were fine to me. Weren't the OG, but then later they're not the shit that what we got from the sequels and everything else.
Yeah,
but
they aged better than than we thought they would.
Yep. Well, than that, MCU, well, pretty much all superhero movies and shows since the 90s.
Oh yeah. I wanted to add to that. So as far as Marvel for me or any superheroes, what got me into superheroes when I was younger, it was DC. It was like Superman, Batman. I didn't read a lot of the comics. It was more of movies, and I loved the Christopher Reeve movies.
Oh yeah.
Loved the Michael Keaton Batman. Then eventually in the 90s came along the X-Men animated show. I loved that. That's what got me to get a year-long subscription to X-Men, with the current X-Men comic at the time. I think
you mean before they had like 17 different titles that counted as X-Men?
I think at that time it was the Uncanny X-Men. But I was more of the video, watching the cartoons and all that. I didn't read the comics as much. So I'm more of I guess I could say I'm more of a normie, other than having watched the cartoons and whatnot. The Spider-Man animated show from the 90s was great too. But that's where I stand on that.
All the animated stuff from the 90s was great.
Yeah, it was great back then, and it's great now, because like I went back and revisited X-Men, and then I haven't started Spider-Man again, but I just remember being amazing, and then going back, and like those episodes were just so well written, and it had a real, like when they did the symbiote Spider-Man, like it was so on point.
Well, the whole point is a comic book is by definition a storyboard. They should not have problems taking the comic and making it into a movie or a TV show or anything, because when you do those things, you have to create storyboards. They're already done for you, jackasses. Stop trying to change them.
No, that's a good point. Like reinventing the wheel, or not to get way into it, but applying it to a modern audience or whatever the deal is, or people that, even if it's not that, they just want to make it their own and be like, oh, I'm going to do it my way. And that's such a
But Drew, that's like reinventing the wheel and coming up with a square.
Well, it's when they want to make the story of the character revolve around their personal experices.
And they can do that, but why with the money, the $1 billion?
But it's more of their personal mental hangups. Is what they.
It has nothing to do with what that character's mental hangups are supposed to be. It's what the writer's mental hangups are.
Yeah.
But as far as the 90s, as far as the 90s go,
that's good jumping off. So
we'll
get into a couple topics that will kind of.
All right. So first topic I got, I was talking about video games earlier, trying to get that across, but I wanted to bring this up. I know a bit about this one, and I wanted to vent about it a little bit, and this one is a couple days old. I think it came out Monday or something like that. GTA 6. We all know it's been in development hell for years, because these games take way too long to develop. The point of this is the industry. I think they're saying the industry is hoping that they raise the cost, the industry standard cost, above $70. So 70 is the current industry standard for brand new AAA games. It was 4 years ago, and it goes into this article about that. 4 years ago, 5 years ago now, 2020, prior to 2020, it was $60. They're hoping that GTA 6 sets a new standard for average cost for a AAA game, which is ridiculous, because if anyone knows what's going on in the AAA gaming network right now, it's AAA games are failing all over the place. I mean, look at we know what's going on with Ubisoft. Ubisoft's potentially on the verge of bankruptcy. Their current Assassin's Creed is been in development hell as well, and you're going to have a lot of normie audience that buy the game, but the people that have been paying attention, the non-normies, they're not going to buy it. And I think this thing, at best, it'll break even, but I don't think so. I don't think Ubisoft makes it another year before they go into bankruptcy and get broken up. Oh, wow. Another example is BioWare, who made the Mass Effect games, which were massively popular. They're in the same situation. You had Dragon Age, the most recent Dragon Age that came out. Complete failure. So they lost money on that. So yeah, what do you guys think about that?
Yeah, I mean, back in the day, the games, say Sega and SNES, they were less than $50. I remember when 64 came out, that was kind of the $50, the 49.99. And there weren't a ton of them. So you could, and somebody brought this up before in a stream I was listening to, is you couldn't afford all the games, but you could get Donkey Kong Country and somebody else can get Super Mario World or that came with or whatever. And then you would switch off and then you'd have 4 or 5 people playing at one house with 2 controllers. And then you'd have to wait, because you couldn't buy all these games. But and I'm a business finance guy, where it's just like they think that we're just all going to put this on, credit cards and stuff like that, and they can just keep raising the price, and it's going to saturate it. There's going to be too much out there, and yeah, it's not going to be good. And especially when you add in the in-game purchases too, which that's
Oh yeah.
tell me
Your
about that.
game needs
That's
to be
been so
Your
present.
game needs to be pretty amazing if you're going to get somebody to basically mortgage their house to buy it.
Exactly.
Well, then it's got to be good quality too.
And then on top of that, you've got non-AAA studios, independent studios that are knocking it out of the park for games that sometimes are cheaper than what the AAA guys are selling their games for. So why would anyone want to buy this when they can buy something that's better, at a lower price?
Yep.
I'd also like to bring up that I'm old enough to remember when, for PC games, when they decided to go away from physical media, and they said, hey, we start selling this stuff on Steam, we can give it to you for a cheaper price because we're not having to print it on discs anymore.
Right.
Did that happen?
Nope.
Honestly, no, it did not. You go on Steam to buy a brand new AAA game, it's the same price as if you bought it on a disc for a console or whatever platform. Yeah,
right.
No
That's
difference.
probably a marketing thing, or they intend to it. The road to hell is paved with gold.
Oh, I know.
And good intentions.
But I was just trying to point out the lies and that they pushed.
Yeah.
Saying that, hey, we can go away from printing this on physical media and we can save you money. Yeah, that didn't happen.
Allegedly, it's just
allegedly.
Like, yeah, but then the idea is then that later on they're like, oh, we're just gonna get people hooked and then jack up the price like this. And so right now, to me, they're going off brand. So the GTA brand, hey, come get it like you used to get all the member berries with the new one. But let's see if they follow through. It's all about the follow through.
Yeah, and speaking of follow through, it's a similar topic that I want to go to because we all know we're talking about the AAA game studios haven't been doing well. They've been having a lot of failures lately. I want to go to this. So Hypnotic dropped this earlier. This is a Japanese YouTuber who did some online reviews of footage he was seeing of Assassin's Creed, the current Assassin's Creed one's coming out, in March?
Shadows? I think it's called.
Yeah, I think it's called Shadows. I wasn't big into the Assassin's Creed series. I've only played like 2 of them. But I went back. I think his video that got hit. So apparently his video where he critiqued the game, just footage of the game, he got hit with a hate speech policy violation on his YouTube. He's Japanese.
Seriously?
I went back. I think the video's back because there was a video from a day ago that I saw that he was talking about Assassin's Creed. I think it's back up. I think they fixed it. But I went in to watch that video. The only things he's commenting on is like, oh, that's not accurate Japanese. That looks more Chinese. Or he was saying the graphics look horrible. The game engine looks, awful. That's all there was to it. And he even said he made a video after his video got taken down for hate speech. He made a video following that, and he's basically stating, I don't know what I did wrong.
Yeah.
That's when we get into weird stuff about AI going through this stuff and phasing and blocking out things when it's like, okay, what are the rules here? But yeah, that's a weird one.
Yeah, it looks like the video's back up, but we'll see. We'll see how it goes from there. We can move on to another topic here, unless you got something you want to bring up real quick.
Just guilty until proven innocent. It seems like things are just going to block, and then we'll verify maybe by a person if you fight back hard enough.
It wouldn't surprise me if a company like Ubisoft is going to YouTube and saying, "Hey, you need to crush this." It's not verified. We can't verify it. but
Well, also,
knowing how these companies operate, it wouldn't surprise me.
no, it wouldn't surprise me at all. And one of the few things I can actually talk about when it comes to Assassin's Creed Shadow is he's right. There's a whole, I mean, he's Japanese, so of course he's right. But there's a whole bunch of stuff that I can look at and go, that's not Japanese, that's Korean, or that's Chinese, or that's fucking not even East Asian at all for some of this stuff. It's like, as a historian, I can just look at it and go, that's not that right. And I'm sorry, someone like me who can just look it over and go, you've taken the wrong things, are not that expensive. Ubisoft, it's really, if you're going to spend the huge amount of money that you spend on DEI bullshit and things like Sweet Baby Inc., and you can't take fucking a quarter of that and get a historian to come in and tell you what things should look like, that's just dick.
Oh, there's other parts. He was going over like examples. He was like, "Oh, the women aren't wearing shoes. They normally would wear shoes. They're walking around barefoot. That's not accurate." He said like the samurai's wearing gold armor. That's not accurate. You know, it's like, and then he was just showing like all. If you guys remember when a couple of YouTubers were reviewing Star Wars Outlaws, that game was tragically unfinished, and that's exactly what he's saying about this. He's watching it. It's like, this looks unpolished. The way they're talking to each other, the characters move clunky. It looks like garbage, basically. So,
and to be honest, if I was Japanese, I'd be fucking insulted.
Yeah.
You take the time for the European stuff for it to look right and feel right and be right before you put it out. But when it's based in Japan and supposed to have a Japanese character, you don't give two shits.
I think this is also a indication of the state that Ubisoft is in at this moment. Obviously, we could talk about DEI policies, but bringing in people that are there not based on their merit, but based on what they look like, you're not getting the best. So this is what you get.
Well, and that's the thing. They got to decide, are we going to base it on real history? And then you got to give quality. And like Tiny said, historians, and really put some effort into it, which is going to cost more money because you want to get people that actually know what they're talking about. Or do you want to make it fantasy? Like, the good thing about watching Game of Thrones again for the second time is like, I'm seeing similarities like in history, and I really want to like look at the geography and stuff like that, and I kind of compare it to like, okay, King's Landing could be like or like either New York or Washington DC or something like that, and then you're going over the Pacific or Atlantic, and then you got countries over there, and the wall could be like Canada. I like playing with that, and obviously it's not what it is meant to be, but I can play with that idea. Or Star Wars or Star Trek, where you're in space and you can take more liberties. Or are we relating it to actual places that took place in our history, that we have real life knowledge, and the people that, like you said, that they live there, currently live in that thing. They might have great grandparents that it was real to them, and now it's crapping on their heritage.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not normally someone to be like evil white racism, but at the same time, you gotta say, like, Ubisoft, like, I've seen some of the other Assassin's Creed games. Yes, they're fantastical, but you made it feel like it was really European or North American for the one during the Revolution and all this stuff. And it's like, if you can do it for the white characters, you should be able to do it for the other characters, or you look really bad.
It's like Assassin's Creed Odyssey. I got into that one. I was never really a big Assassin's Creed guy. I played the first one, didn't really like it, and then it was about 6 months ago I picked up Assassin's Creed Odyssey, mainly because it took place during ancient Greece, and I loved that time period. And I've actually enjoyed the game. After playing it for a while, I do get the feeling Assassin's Creed games are very grindy. Yeah, so I don't know if it's gonna be one I want to keep playing, but I enjoy the time setting and just the way they got it right. But yeah.
Also, what Drew was saying about you need to decide if you're going to be setting your real life or fantasy. That was the really interesting thing between DC and Marvel early on. Was DC's attitude is, we're going to create Metropolis and Central City and National City, and yes, they're connected to all these places in America, but they're not exactly that, and they have a different name, so we can change things up and do what we want. Whereas Marvel is just like, nah,
Yeah.
Spider-Man comes from New York. He's in
Everyone from
Queens,
New York,
period.
Captain America, Queens, or
Brooklyn, yeah.
Brooklyn, Queens, and
Oh,
stuff.
well,
Where they came from.
That's
where the writers came from.
That's a good transition. So you talked about Spider-Man, so we're gonna bring up this. It's only a minute long, so we can watch it. But this is the new animated Spider-Man show.
Yep.
And it is, well, I don't want to spoil it. Neither of you watched this?
No, I seen the trailer, not this.
Hopefully this plays. So let's see if my internet can make it happen. But you guys ready?
Mm-hmm.
Let's do it. We'll talk about it after. On. Let me try again. You guys talk.
Yeah. Speaking of that, like we were talking about Spider-Man, the animated series from the '90s, and it's just like you don't know how good you had it like back then compared to the stuff now, and yeah, that was just amazing. Like because they had Blade, they had Punisher was in there, and it just incorporated different stuff. He jumped into the X-Men for a little bit.
90s animated Morbius should be fucking suing for what they did to his movie.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. Like they could have took the Morbius, and it was like a series. It wasn't just one episode.
It was a long lasting thing, and it had it lasted multiple episodes, and it dealt with not just Morbius but also Black Cat and Felicia Harding's and I just like it was amazing. They could have done that.
I think I figured it out. All right, let's go ahead and play this. And reserve your comments for the end, or if you want to groan between, that's fine.
Yeah, I've been better, but
hold on, let me rewind it.
Are you okay?
I've been better, but I definitely could have been worse. Midtown, on the other hand.
Notice how no one in the background's moving?
Here for orientation.
Freshman, huh? Same.
Plus
But
the
I'm
animation's
not
shit.
getting assigned classes anytime soon.
Yeah. So my initial reaction is I'm getting an echo. But I'll just keep going. Okay. Well, just the animation, it's flat. The not much is moving.
Okay. Because of what we have for the sound, whoever's speaking, everyone else needs to mute temporarily.
Okay. Yeah. Just I'm hearing myself twice. But yeah, it just doesn't feel very encompassing.
We can do this while you're talking.
Okay, there we go. Better. Yeah, it I don't know. It just feels
weird.
like a flat world. It feels like it was rushed, or maybe the right people weren't jumping into it.
Or someone saw a little clip of something, or even a still drawing. They're like, I like that feeling and that style, and decided to do an entire show, and it's just not designed for that. But I mean, also it's weird. Like, I watch a lot of anime, and there's anime that I really enjoy that some of like the big anime content creators and critics will say things like, but the animation was so bad. And I'm like, I thought it was all right. Like, I enjoyed it. I didn't see anything all that special about it. And I sometimes watch anime with this is the best animation oh my God, it was so amazing. I'm like, it looks good. Okay. I always feel like I'm missing what they're talking about. Dude, this sucks. I can see that this animation sucks. This is like early 90s Flash animation style thing. Like, I think that Badgers thing that gets stuck in your head had better animation than this.
It looks to me like they're using CGI
Freshman, huh?
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
They're just using it to create an old looking. So it's like a combination of CGI and nostalgia is my initial feedback.
You're not getting double audio, are you, right now?
Not anymore.
All right, I changed it up. All right.
Cool beans.
Okay, let's watch the rest of this, and we'll give the rest of our critiques.
Freshman, huh? Same. But I have a feeling we won't be getting assigned classes anytime soon.
What to him?
I don't know. He didn't like my name.
Hey, Peter.
Peter,
talk to me.
So there you go.
Yeah.
What do you think of that?
Mary Jane, or was that supposed to be Aunt May?
I don't know.
The fact that we cannot tell who a character is not a good sign.
And the writing of that part, that adding in there, and they hit it on that twice. They're like, "Oh, it's my name. I didn't, assign my name or whatever." And then they're like, "What happened? Oh, he didn't like my name." And that's just like, I don't know. It's like a forced offense.
It's a somewhat juvenile humor. It's not really,
Well,
and not even
top,
fun juvenile.
and I like cell shade animation. I'll be honest, but if it's done right, that's not done right.
No.
You see, you had the people one that they I don't know if it was the stream or what, but it looked like it was moving at like 30 frames per second. But also in the background, like the background characters aren't moving or they're barely moving. So it looks like time is frozen. It doesn't, yeah.
I get what you were saying about the nostalgia feeling though, Drew. And I get what Alf is saying as well. And I think maybe it was done specifically with good intentions, but once again, we're repeating the quote of "Road to Hell paved in good intentions" because that was awful.
Yeah. And it's just tough when I have something to compare it to. So like I've been watching Batman Beyond.
Nice, I love Batman Beyond.
With my cousin, and it's like this. You know, the animation is different. It's fine. It's not the animated series. It's in the future. It's okay. Whatever. I can kind of get over that. But the stories, the writing was just amazing. Terry, the new Batman, was he's basically experiencing what Batman experienced, but in the future. And so he has a girlfriend, but then this new girl kind of came in and she's hitting on him and he doesn't know what to do. So he looks to his mentor, for advice and this and that. And Bruce Wayne played by or spoken by.
This is the episode with the Royal Flush Gang?
Yeah. Royal Flush Gang 10. Was it 10 or 8?
Yep. 10. It's 10. 10. Yep.
Yep. And then he goes, or he's like, yeah, I don't, because Dana and him have a fight.
Mm-hmm.
And then he's like, oh yeah, I didn't know. He's telling Bruce about what happened. And like I said, I was going to say it was played by Kevin Conroy. And he goes, women used to throw themselves at me all the time. And he's like, what'd you do? And he's like, I stepped over them. And I'm like, oh my God. I'm like, that writing was just perfect. And it was, he had different women that would go towards him and he would never,
Bruce
fully
is kind of berating him and all this. Yeah, and all that
he'd
other
go
stuff.
on the philanthropy dates or whatever. But it just, that carryover was just awesome.
Yeah, no. But I love the very, very end of that episode when after he's been berating Terry through the whole fucking episode, the very end, he goes, let me tell you about someone named Selena Kyle.
Yes, exactly. And I'm like, yes, I know that story.
It's just like he's like, you did the right thing in the end, so I will actually give you a boon instead of like lecturing you. I'm going to tell you one of my fuck ups.
Yep, and that was I just hit on that where it was even if the show it had some things that weren't awesome, but the writing, the storytelling, the connection to the bigger universe, the world building, it was just right there.
And the soundtrack, great soundtrack.
On that note, since we talked about that show, I wanted to bring this up.
Actually, real quick,
the show was greenlit for 3 seasons.
Oh God!
How does that happen?
Sneakers?
How does that happen? I don't get it. What were you saying, Tiny?
I have no idea. I have no idea how you okay something for 3 seasons when you haven't actually had the first season out and seen how the fans are going to respond to it. And on top of that, nothing you have done recently has made money and everything you've done with Spider-Man has been fucking shit. Why would you do something for 3 years? That's crazy talk.
And then what I'm wondering is when they say it's greenlit for 3 seasons, was that because what I heard is the original, this was supposed to be based on not Tobey Maguire,
Tom Holland.
That'd been cool, but Tom Holland. So this is going to be like an animated version of a prequel for Tom Holland, which would be cool. You see more of the high school stuff and what it kind of brought into. I could see that working. I could see how that got greenlit for different stuff, especially when superhero movies around that time. I'm guessing 2019, Endgame time frame.
Yeah,
everything was getting greenlit. Craven,
That's
all the stuff. Morbius. Yeah. But yeah, I could see that happening. But then going from greenlit to all the different variations, and then and you could say the pandemic too, what came out of this.
I will admit that there's a small part of me that probably is actually extra angry about this whole thing because of what they have been doing with Spider-Man the last few years. I mean, you had the thing with Miles Morales becoming Thor or whatever, and then they getified Valhalla. Asgard, and I just as a historian and someone who loves Viking culture, I was just so and also someone who grew up in an inner city and has black cousins, biological cousins that are black. Everything about that comic was insulting. It was insulting to the Thor. It was insulting to the people of color from the inner cities. It was insulting on every single level. And I still had an experience at I think it was San Diego Comic-Con the first year I was here, so 2019. I'm in my wheelchair, having fun, and these girls come over and they kneel down so that they can be at eye level with me. And they say, you know, there's a character for you. And they start talking about the Sunfire Spider, whatever the crazy trans disabled spider person. And I literally, my mom had her hands on my shoulders so that I did not reach out and strangle these bitches. I'm like, I do not need to compare myself to that ridiculous character that makes no sense and is literally web swinging through New York with a wheelchair attached to her back, like with straps and shit. Like
that is the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard of. I remember when that came out, and other streaming channels were posting the pictures of her swinging through New York with a wheelchair
attached to her back. Like as someone who's from New York and uses a wheelchair semi-regularly, it was insane. Though I will say, you do not realize that sidewalks are tilted until you end up in a wheelchair. Like I had no idea that the sidewalks in New York were not flat and straight.
It's for drainage purposes.
Yes, but you don't think about it till you're
No, you don't.
You're using your left arm 6 times more than your right.
I can say that too. Yeah, slight incline, and the rest of your body needs to work out accordingly. And you don't notice that stuff. Yeah.
You do not notice that when you're walking on 2 feet.
And then I'm not going to go into it, but yeah, Tiny, and you don't, I'm guessing you don't expect to have every sidewalk change for you. No, but
not in any way, shape, or form.
Yeah. Weird.
But but I just, that character was so insulting to me on so many levels. And then I was just like, you know, I had a character. Her name was Oracle. She was unbelievably badass. And then they gave her a magic surgery so that she could go back to being Batgirl, of which she had multiple Batgirls. We've only ever had one fucking Oracle. Give me my Oracle.
You also have Professor Xavier.
Yeah.
You know, he's in a wheelchair or hover chair later, but he started out in a wheelchair in the show or in the books. But yeah.
And actually, at New York Comic Con, I got a chance to talk to blanking. He was in charge of all of the Green Lantern stuff, and now he's in charge of whatever. One of the big Green Lantern writers I got to talk to at New York Comic Con. I was like, if you really want to do something with someone disabled, what about a Blue Lantern, a Lantern of Hope, who's so calm and so peaceful inside that they don't need to use their ring to fix them. They're perfectly happy in their little chair, and they can use the ring to make the chair glow, and it can fly. But I mean, if you want someone disabled, someone who's gone through the suffering of becoming disabled and coming to peace with themselves, that could be really cool. But stop trying to just throw random people in fucking wheelchairs or give them prosthetic legs for no fucking reason at all, and then I'm supposed to like this person just because I'm disabled.
No, that's a good point, because why make whatever the Green Lantern or whatever it is do something like that when the green is what is it about willpower and stuff like that, so you can have a different emotion, like you said, blue for patience, hope, stuff like that. And that's the thing with a lot of stuff, is just make a new one, not give sloppy seconds and modify somebody else to fit a new area. That's a good point.
As far as this show goes, with the way streaming has done it lately, because you guys are old enough to remember back when when TV shows were broadcast shows instead of streaming.
Yeah,
they would get maybe a nice. DeBeast just became a member.
Hey,
thank
welcome.
you, man.
Thank you.
Hey, cheers to that.
Awesome.
Yeah, speaking of that, I got my old Batman Forever McDonald's cup. There's a ginger beer in here. I know it looks like crap, but it's a ginger beer.
But
yeah,
My mom refused to let me go to fast food when I was younger. I never got any of that cool shit.
I wish my parents would have did that because I went to McDonald's way too often, and I have every extra thing that McDonald's offers.
This is a thing Lex does every time someone becomes a membership. He says one of us multiple times.
All right, hail Lex.
Holy shit! The Beast gifted 5 Horny Alf memberships.
You.
Thank you, man.
Hey,
Wow.
that's an honor for our first show.
That's
Yeah.
awesome. Like I was saying, you know how back in the day you'd get like they would propose a pilot. They'd film a pilot episode. They'd show it to the executives. The executives would yay or nay it, and then if they get greenlit, then they do a season, and then after a season they reevaluate based on how it's doing, whether or not they get a season 2.
Yep.
The way they do with streaming nowadays, they jump ahead and they get like 2 or 3 seasons greenlit ahead of time, which doesn't make any sense.
No.
It makes no sense. They do that with They did that with Star Trek. They're doing it with Rings of Power. And Rings of Power.
Actually, I think one of the few times I think it's actually going to be an okay thing is they seem to be doing that with the One Piece live action on Netflix. They're shooting season 2 and season 3 at the same time.
Yeah.
That's one of the few times I think it might actually turn out all right, because so far that show's been actually relatively keeping good to the lore, but even I don't think that's necessarily a good idea, because if season 2 isn't as good as season 1, or if it starts going down a different path, if you didn't shoot season 3 already, you would have time or the ability to fix that for season 3. And also, what you're talking about, Alf, is one of the reasons why there's tons of great shows from back in the TV days where 1 or 2 of the characters from the pilot is not actually playing the character in the TV show.
Exactly.
Well, yeah, that was the thing on The Simpsons, was they make an amazing pilot, and it looks good and everybody likes it, but then they switch everything to switch the character from being like suave and everything like that to being a buffoon in the second season and on and stuff like that. So.
Yeah, and they used to put out pilots, and certain characters, certain actors, whether it was the actor or the role they were playing, just didn't work out. Mm-hmm. So the executives would say, okay, we'll greenlight you, but we don't want this character in the show anymore, which unfortunately for the actor, he's done. Yeah. But, then the show goes forward, so I remember the show had Urkel in it. Family Matters. Yep. Do you guys remember that the one sister disappeared after a certain season and never came back? She went upstairs to her room and never came back down.
I do not remember noticing that, but I probably would have noticed that.
The daughter's name was Judy, and she just vanished from the show after like season 2 or whatever it was.
Wow.
Yeah, Fresh Prince of Bel-Air did that too with the mom as well.
Yeah, they swapped out the moms.
Yeah, they
swapped
the moms.
At least I like that they acknowledged it. Will Smith was like, "Hey, Aunt Vivian, you look a little different." And then they're like, what do you mean? They're like, never mind.
Well, the classic original for that was Bewitched, where they switched out Darren and nobody noticed.
Yeah. Well,
but, I mean, also,
after you roll with
Cage.
it makes sense. But yeah.
The Cage was the original pilot for Star Trek, the original series, and they didn't like it. And Lucille Ball thought it had a great premise and a great idea. This idea that in the future, everyone really is equal. There are women on the bridge, and that there are people of every color and race and whatever working together on this ship. She loved that idea so much that she took $300,000 of her own money back then. That's crazy. And allowed them to have a second pilot, which almost never happens. And then we got Kirk instead of Pike. And we got, it's really interesting. We got Spock instead of number 1. But if you watch The Cage, Spock is way more emotional than he normally is because he wasn't supposed to be that character yet. It's really interesting.
Yeah, I noticed I think in Game of Thrones recently was like the second Sons guy that took out the other 2. It was like, okay, that was a cool story. And I can't remember if when it switched to the next season. And I'm like, that's a different guy. Like, I didn't notice it the first time around because the first guy looked like that hot pool kind of Deadpool guy, just like a Fabio type one. And then the season goes next, and he's a little bit more rough and rugged.
The thing that boggles my
They
mind
did
the
that with
most
Spartacus.
when it comes to them approving multiple seasons is Rings of Power. They wanted to set up pre-greenlighting 5 seasons, or at least that was their plan. I think I've heard other people say this. They wanted their version of Game of Thrones, but it being in the Lord of the Rings universe, which is unfortunate for Lord of the Rings and Tolkien, But I don't count
It's
Rings of Power
unbelievably
as canon.
It's unbelievably unfortunate, and it's a stupid thing to do. But if I'm being completely honest, there are ways to do it. It could have been done, and
Right.
it still would have pissed off all the classic and hardcore Tolkien fans. But you could have made money, and you could have made a good show.
Yep.
And
there's so many good stories.
I mentioned in our group chat, and I will probably regret this, but I will mention it now, is because I have a friend who's mocking me repeatedly for this. I am a fan of modern romance novels. I will refuse to be shamed. But I mean, I've got books where basically they've got characters that are very Tolkien-esque in a world that is very Tolkien-esque, and they're running around having great fights, great battles, great characters, and great sex. It's not that fucking complicated.
Well, I was telling you guys in our group chat as well, I'm a huge Tolkien fan. And when I heard the show was coming out, I was like, okay, they said they were going to focus on the Second Age of Middle-earth. I was like, there are tons of stories that it could have done. They could have done 5 seasons for each major event in the Second Age, and if they'd done it right, it would have worked. But instead, they tried to mash it all into one show. You have events in that show that are taking place thousands of years apart in the timeline. Yep. And they've smashed it all together into this one little perverted timeline. It's just, it's awful. And I don't have the reference for it, but they were saying season 2. So if you've seen any of the stuff, season 1, they lost 60% of their audience from the beginning of season 1 to the end. Season 2, they lost 60% of their previous audience. So what are they down to? They don't release the numbers, but I'd love to see that. It's probably abysmal.
They don't release the numbers when it's bad. They release them when it's good, or they can manipulate, or
It's crazy.
Okay. Legatus is right.
Well, it gets too saturated, and like you said, Tiny, like, yeah, you can try to do something else that gained a lot of success, but you got to do it in the right way.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sorry, if your
possible.
characters are horrible people, nobody wants to watch them. That woman was, I wouldn't even call her Galadriel, because she has nothing to do with Galadriel. Galadriel is a woman of power, of
Luna,
strength.
You're not wrong.
I wanted to be a Marine since I was 6. I was the first and only girl on my high school wrestling team. I was one of the first girls on a Division III men's college wrestling team. When I realized that I was getting too many injuries and I was going to lose my Marine Corps contract that I had, I fucking stopped wrestling and became a coach. I understand women who want to battle. I get that. She was not a warrior. She was not a leader. She was a cunt who could barely fight. Whereas Galadriel should be a woman of strength and awe and beauty. She's everything that is great about females done up to a 7. She is the Lady of Light, for Christ's sake. And they turned her into a woman who's got no loyalty, no brains. And I'm sorry, she might kill the ice freaking troll, but if you're watching who are the choreographers for the fights on these things? They need to be strung up by their toes.
That's what I've noticed a lot lately is, since joining the army and then getting out, is just the fight choreography. Because I always liked military movies in the 80s, 90s, and stuff like that. And I can't remember who said it. I think it was Mahler said it on a stream, where it's like something can be good and you don't know why it's good, but you know that it's a good product, like like Saving Private Ryan or something like that. Or then my go-to is the Arrowverse. So that the first couple of seasons of
Oh
Arrow,
yeah. Oh
and
yeah.
then and just the fight, like he doesn't have any special powers. It was coming off of the Nolan Dark Knight kind of stuff, and it was just amazing. It's like, yeah, you didn't have to have all the CGI and superpowers and stuff like that, but they pulled it off. And it's like, yeah, I don't care that it's not, and some were Stephen Amell in a lot of that, but even if it wasn't, like there were, because I think that was around the same time that Daredevil was going on, and I like that they were each stepping it up with like hallway
Oh
scenes.
yeah,
and
those
fight
Yeah.
the DC shows and the Marvel shows on Netflix, they were going about right about the same time, and that was actually a good time because those in the beginning of the DC shows they were pretty good. I liked the
They
first
were.
season.
Yeah.
And
I like the
about that
first.
team that was on there. And yeah, you're gonna have some weirdos and stuff like that. And you know, and they can figure that out behind the scenes. We don't have to know all of that because you know there's some weirdos in Hollywood. But you know, some people made a good product of the Arrow. And I noticed the changes when the Flash came around, whatever it was, season 2 or 3 of Arrow. I guess a lot of people, key ones, went over to the Flash. And then that's why the first couple of seasons of the Flash were awesome, and then teetered off later on.
Yeah,
But yeah,
I
speaking
really,
of fight choreography, Daredevil, Alf, you got an article for that too. It's probably a good time.
yeah. So
Oh, cool.
we got this Daredevil article from the showrunner for Daredevil Born Again, and let me read a little bit of what he's saying here. So he basically said, okay, so Daredevil Born Again showrunner Dario, however you say that, says the upcoming Marvel series will have some big differences from the original Netflix show. There's more fun in the moments with these characters and a lot less navel-gazing than before. That's insulting. He says in the new issue, or he said to the new...
You want to pull up the article?
Oh, I don't have it up? Okay, shit. There you go. There's the headline. All right, so... what do you say? Okay, the earlier show at its best was fantastic. At its worst, it was two characters in a room talking about what a hero is. I felt that had been done. I'm not taking swipes. I just don't want to hear characters grousing about their lot in life. I wanted to see them doing things. I'm going to say something real quick, and I'll hand it over to you guys. But Daredevil, anyone who's read the books and knows Daredevil, he is a Catholic. He's always judging himself. He's introspective about what he's doing. He's always worried if he's doing the wrong thing. That's part of his character. That just is who he is. That's why I thought it was great in the show when they showed him going to the confessional and talking to the priest. Those were great moments. These moments in that show where they're sitting and talking, they're not just there to have him sitting and talking. You're getting exposition. You're getting background into the character. You're understanding his motivations and the people he's talking to. So yeah, this guy
is really good and really important in legitimate storytelling. The problem is the people who are going to watch this have a TikTok level of patience, and they're more used to sexposition than exposition these days.
Yeah, no, that's a good point, because like the Daredevil show, like in my mind, it's like it was about the character. It's like, okay, yeah, you get well, the backstory, like his father being in the boxing, fighting for his family, survival, and then you know has to take a hit, doesn't want to do it, all of that, the crime stuff, which is great, which set up for Kingpin. And then you get, you know, Matt gets blind, and then gets his other senses, you know, increased, and that's like a good disability story too. In fact, there. And then it's like Al said,
when we go blind, we don't use toxic waste and we don't get superpowers. But
yeah,
yeah,
but it's a good way to bring it in. But
how many supers got their powers from toxic waste? I was so worried as a kid that the other children were going to start jumping, trying to find toxic waste and jumping in it.
Yeah, I mean, it's probably of that era with companies.
It really was. So many of us.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm sorry. Back to
no worries.
Article.
But that's part of it. And then the other part is like Al said, with the Catholicism and everything. So you're battling with that, and he's a lawyer, so he's intelligent enough to get through law school and work from the ground up. Doesn't have all the big law firm money and everything. So he's got a lot going for him, or a lot of struggles and a lot of just side stories. And then when you get into a situation where you're talking about that, you can understand it more. And then like you said, the fighting, the hallway scenes, all that new stuff that's all like gravy. That made, that went to a 10 level kind of show, but it's all of that into one.
Well, I mean, one of the reasons why he chose to be a devil, why his costume looks the way it is because he's Catholic. And yeah, his Catholicism was always a major part of his character. And it's interesting because when they did the Daredevil Netflix show, it was really good. But a lot of people were making jokes that you can't really do a Hell's Kitchen show anymore because Hell's Kitchen just isn't Hell's Kitchen anymore.
Thanks,
well,
Weasel.
guess what? In less than 10 years, they have fucked up New York so bad that Hell's Kitchen is Hell's Kitchen again. Congratulations, guys. As a New Yorker, I hate you.
But yeah,
that's interesting.
That's what was great about the first show is you're seeing that he feels convicted in some of the things he does. He's constantly battling with his faith versus what he thinks is right, to help people. That's what the best part of the show is. And later in the article, he references that they want more action, keep the pace up. It almost feels like they're trying to cater to the TikTok generation of people that just need that quick dopamine hit, because let's face it, movies from the 60s and 70s, they moved at a slower pace, but there's movies from that era that are so good.
Yep.
But I have tried, because my kids are some of them are in their teens. I've tried showing them older movies, and they get bored quick. So it's definitely they're trying to cater this to the TikTok generation.
Things can be slower, but it's good to watch it slower. Like I'll go back and watch older stuff, like whatever 70s, 60s, 50s, and I'm not going to get everything, but I can respect the quality and then why it was done then. So yeah, like I said, I got a cousin, and I think we were watching VHS Sword in the Stone, and so he loves the idea. And I'm watching, I'm like, wow, this is such a good story of King Arthur working with Merlin.
Animated one?
The animated Disney, Sword and Stone, and he's just liking it because it's a kid. He's learning kind of cool stuff, and I'm seeing the interaction, the mentorship, and everything. So it's it's slower, but it's quality, and we don't need everything like that. But yeah, personally, I don't think they should done anything with Daredevil, unless they would have continued it on right where they left off a couple years ago. When they ended it, and
from the Netflix show,
should have kept going, or they should be like, nope, we're done, wash it all, because they're redoing a lot of stuff. It's like they got new people, or they got new people. I can't even keep up with them switching in and out, the writers and everything like that. All I know is it's not going to be the same of where they left off. And even in season 3 and Defenders wasn't awesome.
Yeah,
either.
Defenders wasn't that great. Season 3, you saw the show start to drag, but
I was so disappointed in Iron Fist. I was so
I don't
for
think
Danny, and
the actor they picked to play Danny Rand was awful. He just came off super whiny and just crying all the time and not actually embracing his abilities. It just was stupid.
And he was supposed to be like a fish out of water, like in New York.
He's supposed to basically be Matthew fucking McConaughey. I mean, he's a blonde dude who sounds kind of like a Southern California surfer, but basically he's a different version of Batman. He had very rich family. His parents and him were on a plane. There's a plane crash. Parents die. He gets stuck in the Himalayan mountains.
Somewhere like Tibet or something like that, I guess.
Yeah, and their version of basically Shangri-La is there, and he's taken in as a small child and raised there. And so he becomes a Buddhist monk like all the rest of them, like everybody there is, which is always so funny because then how do you have next generation? But okay. And there's a myth or a challenge, the great dragon. Damn it, I even know the dragon's name and I can't remember right now. But so he and other men of his age go to do the test or whatever, and he's the only one who actually passes and fights the dragon and earns the Iron Fist, which is why he has a rival from the Shangri-La place, because their attitude is his rival's attitude is, yo, white boy, this is not your culture. You're culturally appropriating my shit. But Danny eventually has to lead basically the society because he beat the dragon. So eventually he's going to be the leader, and he decides to go back to the outside world for a few years to figure out what it means, who he really is. And he comes back, and suddenly it's like, yeah, the heir to this huge company is back and wants his place on the board of directors, which pisses off a lot of white people. So he's got one rival that wants to kill him who's Asian, and a whole bunch of white people want to kill him.
Yeah, I watched season 1, and it was after I watched Arrow, and I'm like, this is just a bad version of Arrow in the time, or in the theme and everything like that.
If Oliver had come back, but instead of being like hard, he came back like super zen and with the ability to make his fist glow and punch people, that should have been fucking Iron Fist.
Okay.
It should have been exactly like what happened with Ollie, except just zen and like peaceful version of it.
Okay. Well, let's take a moment. Welcome Mo Zamboni in. How you doing, buddy?
What's up, Mo?
Doing well. Doing well. How you doing?
Awesome.
Good.
Yeah, we put together
a show together. So hi.
Yeah, we just got done talking about Daredevil Born Again and how the creator says he doesn't want navel gazing in the new season. What do you think about that?
Navel gazing?
I'll bring it back up.
Well, basically, Mo, we a couple of us we've been talking about a show, and we just want to concentrate on pop culture, and so we've been doing that. We just launched it today, and yeah, we just talked shows, movies, comic books, video games, stuff like that, and yeah, a little bit for everybody. So, who are you, and what kind of pop culture are you into? Shows, movies, video games?
Well, I am Mo Zamboni. I am part of the GCA, which the GCA podcast on YouTube. I'm also part of the Monday Hangover with Drunk 3PO and Epic Mike. I do that with them on Mondays. I love movies. Big into video games, obviously. You can look behind me, but
what are you currently watching or playing?
I'm one of those stupid PUBG players. I really enjoy playing PUBG. I can't get enough of it. I'm weird like that. I play Rust. I play like these games that most people are like whatever, but it's just like I enjoy it. But you know, I've always been into Street Fighter. I like competitive games. Anything that kind of gets the competitive juices flowing is what I'm into. As far as movies, I've been rewatching a lot of classics recently, but I'll watch anything that's a good popcorn movie. Like I'm not too picky. I just don't want the message in it. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, we want to, point out stuff that's not going well, but then praise good stuff too.
Yeah, you don't want to get stuck in just the negatives.
And that's a great thing. Not to plug the morning hangover with Drunk 3PO. It's mostly positive. We'll talk about pop culture for about 45 minutes, give or take a little while, and then we'll go into a movie like the one coming up tomorrow that we're going to be talking about is The Last Starfighter.
Nice.
So we talked about a lot of
good movie.
Yes,
that's a classic.
I forgot how much CGI was in that movie from 1984, dude. It's crazy. It kind of doesn't hold up, but considering it's 41 years old, it's got some charm to it. But
Last Starfighter and the first Tron. You look at it and you're just like, Jesus, this was when?
You had to start somewhere, and they did a good job with what they had to work with.
What they had, oh yeah.
No, that's a good point, Mo, because we brought up earlier I brought up Batman Beyond. So the animation was a little wonky, but the writing is just awesome.
So
it's
good.
Kevin Conroy as Batman, old Batman, which I really wish they would have made a good Batman movie, a Batman Beyond movie with Michael Keaton playing the Batman Beyond role.
That was the plan originally.
Yeah, that's what I thought. I'm like, I know I heard about this 10 years ago and it didn't come to fruition. And then they
10 years ago. I remember them talking about it 25 years ago. They're like, dude, Terry McGinnis needs to be Keanu Reeves and Michael Keaton needs to be Batman. It'll be perfect.
Amazing.
They could have done all those stories.
That would have been amazing.
Yeah, you could have done a trilogy and it would have covered, a lot of the Batman Beyond show stories, let alone, all the comics.
There's an episode in Justice League Unlimited where you basically find out how Terry became
save
Terry.
it.
What's
Don't get
going
me
on?
started.
You could adapt that too. I mean,
I
you
am
could get
writing
drama.
basically a video essay on that show connected to everything else that
He had a
comes
great
with it.
rogues gallery too, like very creative.
Yep.
I love the guy
yeah.
that had the sonic weapons, but he accidentally deafened himself.
Yeah.
Hi,
True.
Weasel. I appreciate it. Our favorite furry over at the GCA. Yeah, no, I love I remember I got Batman, and this kicked off the whole like WB DC cartoon movies that were a little more edgy. I remember I bought
the DC animated movies are better.
But you know what? You know what kicked all that off was Batman Beyond, Return of the Joker,
Yes.
the unrated edition where they made it more, where it was more violent, where the way it was originally cut.
That was
Yeah,
so
it
good.
was
Such
so
a sad
good.
story.
Yeah, but it's like
Yeah,
had like
we'll make a whole show dedicated to talking about that. I would love to, talk Return of the Joker, Justice League. What is it called? Epilogue. That episode.
I think so. Yeah, I believe
I
so.
saw that when I was older. I think maybe it was a year after it came out or something. I think I was in college, and I'm like, that is like quality stuff, you know. And
I love when things come full circle in a way.
Yeah.
There's a thing that runs through Star Trek that most people don't catch or realize that I absolutely love. Spoilers for anyone who hasn't seen Enterprise or Deep Space Nine, and if you haven't, what the fuck's wrong with you?
exactly.
So in the original Star Trek, the original series, none of the Klingons have weird stuff in their foreheads because they hadn't created that yet, and they didn't really have the silicone or plastic to make it look right. Then we have Next Generation, and all of the Klingons look the same, and they all have the ridges. You go to Enterprise, and you have a set of episodes where they wanted, where the Klingons want to make super soldiers like Khan and our eugenics program. So they steal DNA, except it ends up the super soldier DNA attacks and eats Klingon DNA.
Yeah.
And it creates this horrible plague, and they're able to cure it, but the cure leaves them without facial ridges. So there's an entire generation of Klingons with no facial ridges. And then in Deep Space Nine, they go back in time to the Tribble episode from the original series.
I love that one.
That's a good one.
And everyone's going, oh, Klingons this and Klingons that. And all the Deep Space Nine people are going, I don't see any Klingons. Where are the Klingons? And Worf is stuck there going, it was a time we don't talk about. It was not discussed
so
with
good.
outsiders. And so it literally, you have 5 different shows coming full circle and giving you a complete story with every little bit actually making sense and working. And I love when that happens. It's one of the reasons I love One Piece so much, because it's freaking 1,100 episodes, and you're in episode freaking 806. You go, holy shit! You mean back in episode 10 he set that up? That's the type of thing that I love.
I want to give. I'm not going to bring the article back up, but I want to read this quote to Mo Zamboni from the show creator for Daredevil Born Again, and see what he thinks about this. So he says, "There's more fun in moments with these characters and a lot less navel gazing than before." He's referencing the new show versus the original Netflix show. The earlier show, at its best, was fantastic. At its worst, it was 2 characters in a room talking about what a hero is. I felt that had been done. I'm not taking swipes. I just didn't want to hear characters grousing about their lot in life. I wanted to see them doing things. What do you think that means?
I think they are basically, I don't know. I kind of like what he's going. Maybe he just wants to make it like he wants to keep the pace up or something like that. Considering what we've seen in the trailer, I think that he is, especially when he's addressing, like, I'm not trying to, pick on anybody, but it's just like, I just wanted to go about it a different way. I think we've set up our characters. Let's like kind of put them into action. I'll give him the benefit of the doubt from what I've seen, but it could certainly, depending on who kind of gave him that order, or if that's just the way he wanted to do it. I think he might be offhand talking about the bullshit that he took over from the other person that was writing the series when they fought about it. Maybe that was a swipe, and not the last series, but the last writers. I don't know. No, I know that's kind of like deep, but
it's good.
It's good. I had a different take, but I like your take probably better. But my looking at it is those moments where they're sitting down and talking in the original series. I'm talking Netflix, not the Disney Plus or interpretations of Daredevil. Those are some of the best moments. The exposition, the learning about Daredevil and his background. He's a Catholic. He feels conflicted about his faith and what he's doing. He's going to see his priest. Those are the great moments of that show. And if that's what he's talking about, then I have a problem with what he's saying, because those are the moments that built that show, and a lot of people love that. So, just my take.
Yeah, and that's where we got on the writing tangent. Was no, give us good quality writing, conversations, dialogue, when it makes sense. Don't just throw it into just anything. But when you're talking about history, values, going forward, conflicts, stuff like that. I've always had the idea that what would make an interesting, and this was when Star Wars was bought by Disney. And I'm like, okay, maybe something cool would be where a couple of stormtroopers are going from one place to the next, and Tarantino just writes about that. They stay in the same location, just a spaceship, and it's just stormtroopers kind of bullshitting and talking about that, because I want to see like what a good writing would be. And they kind of did that with Mandalorian, with those two stormtroopers that were just sitting there, and it was okay. But I thought that would be a cool thing. But yeah, going back to just good writing when it's pulled off. Like, I want two people to sit there and talk about, life.
And let's not miss the irony of that statement that he said. The first part of the trailer is Kingpin and Daredevil talking.
So,
exactly.
With good exposition, like they're doing
Great
it. It isn't entirely unpleasant. It was that was the most compelling part, and the compound fractures were pretty cool.
The things I've heard is that this show moves at a pretty slow pace in the first half. So if his comments don't make any sense for the information that's getting leaked about the show. I don't know.
Well,
also,
now that I'm remembering that real quick, Tiny, is just when Punisher came in and Punisher kidnapped or whatever, got Daredevil, and it was two guys talking on the rooftop. Like now that I'm remembering it, that was one of the most amazing scenes in that original show. Was
very dramatic
them
too,
talking about values and how they're the same and how they're different. Matt saying I'm nothing like you, and that, and they're both good guys, anti-heroes, depending on their timeline and stuff, but they're going against the true bad guys.
Yeah, that was a very powerful scene. It's just them talking, but it gets very dramatic, because Punisher's trying to pick apart, Daredevil's system of how he's, how far he'll take it, versus the Punisher who's seen family members die, and he's willing to take it as far as he has to,
it's that you don't know what I've been through and type of thing. Tiny, you're going to say something?
I was.
Sorry.
Oh no!
I think the idea,
the scene where they're that we have all just been talking about, where they're sitting there talking, is, to me, it felt really authentic. I know that after World War II, there was a point where the only people who actually could understand and they became good acquaintances and stuff, a bunch of the World War II pilots, the only guys who understood them were the guys who had been Zero pilots, who were Japanese. And like 30, 40 years after World War II, there were all these like old vets was like, the only people who I can talk to about this shit are technically the enemy.
That's fair.
And so like that idea of like, it's not unpleasant. Someone I've shared, I mean, your greatest enemy is someone probably you've spent a lot of time with. You actually had to learn a lot about. You have to know who they are. And to some degree, you have to really, really care about what makes them who they are.
Well, that's an interesting point, is because any guy that's been in here that is, had any, no offense, this isn't a knock at women or anything like that, but guys, I've been in a fist fight more than a few times. And it's funny, these people you you throw punches with or you get in fights with, you
Mhm.
more than usual become really good friends after that.
You would end up
Because-
buying each other a drink afterwards.
Yeah. Or I still remember getting into a fight. It's funny because then there's this level of respect. The same thing that were cause you to bump heads causes you to come together, which makes perfect sense. So when they have that, when Kingpin's like, it isn't entirely unpleasant talking to you,
Mhm.
it's like that's somebody who has thrown punches and gotten punched in the face. That's
Mhm.
how men talk is. You know what? I might not like you, might not want to hang out with you, but I got some respect for you.
Yeah,
And
it's
Mhm.
a,
that was a show of respect to Daredevil from Kingpin.
yeah,
Absolutely.
that's what I was going to say. After confrontation with each other, it's a level of mutual respect for each other.
Yeah, I mean, and you're not wrong that it is generally speaking a much more masculine trait, and it is kind of like incumbently mental in that sense. I had a lot of problems as a kid because I'd have a fight with somebody, and turns out with boys you can get in a fight and then it's over once it's over, and with girls it's not. And I didn't understand that when I was younger, so I didn't quite understand that girls are supposed to keep grudges and they're supposed to be keep fucking with you for the rest of your life, or at least for years.
Well, as somebody that's been married almost 20 years, I could tell you women play the long game and they are really good at it. So I learned that a long
I
time
was
ago.
really bad at it.
Bell
I mean,
curve.
like one of the reasons I'm probably here at this moment in this group is because growing up, like 85% of my friends were always guys. There are certain things that I am very, very, very feminine and female about, but there's so much that I'm not, and literally to my own detriment that I don't understand my own gender to some degree. Like I'll have guy friends that were like, "Why did she do such and such?" And I'm like, "I don't know."
Yeah, that's
I honestly have got no clue why she did that.
my wife is the same way. She does not have a lot of female friends because she just can't stand how catty they are.
Yeah, well, it's like I guess I should plug myself a little bit, and no guarantee it actually gets done with my health. But I had a random inspirational thought the other day, and I'm trying to put on a show that will start on Valentine's Day, where I take one of my single male friends at each one at a time, and we do an interview that's basically like a dating profile, but live. Who are you? What have you done? What are you looking for? What are the problems you've seen in the dating world? Because so many of my guy friends who are legit good guys cannot find a decent woman who's not insane. And that's really upsetting me. And I want to do something about it. But
That's a good idea.
I talked to him about stuff and I'm like, Jesus Christ. Granted, I've been like in the penalty box for the last 20 years, but my God, it has gotten really, really bad out there.
The first question to ask is, where are you looking for women?
Yeah, there's that too. Yeah, there's that.
I mean, if you're going to clubs or places you shouldn't be probably hanging out with to look for women, that's probably a good indication you're looking in the wrong spot.
Well, someone was like, well, why didn't you just set your guy friends up with some of your girlfriends that are single? I'm like, I don't have any single girlfriends to set them up with. I figured I could just marry them all, but polygamy is not legal. So
Yeah. Well, yeah, things in common shows, it's a cool thing to really dive into something that's, you have something in common with. But yeah, that's why I like the message of the show, or it's
I
like,
do
let's
have
talk about
another topic we can bring up.
Yeah.
It came out today. Go ahead and add it to the stage. Talking about Alex Kurtzman interviewing about Section 31 and about Star Trek values. He goes in and he talks about how they which is funny, is because he says that they meant for Star Trek, the current iteration of Star Trek, to be meant for a wider audience. I guess that makes sense. The fact that they're trying to bring in a bunch of action that was more like Star Wars type action into Star Trek, but that it doesn't matter. It hurt it. So, and then they also brought in, of course, everyone knows with Star Trek Discovery, STD. They brought in a bunch of politics, DEI. You got Tilly, who is probably 200 pounds, and they expect us to believe she can pass a PT test. Yeah, so that's where Star Trek is at. But the biggest point here that he makes is he's going through, and there's a lot, he says a lot in here, but he also says, and obviously that's a conversation that's happening in our world. So basically, he's going back to reflecting Star Trek on our current day world, which is a problem with Star Trek in the last, since 2005, when they started doing this new Trek thing, they're trying to reflect everything based on our world, which takes you out of Star Trek altogether. In any franchise that is a fantasy or sci-fi, when they try to bring in our values and the things we're talking about today into Star Trek, yeah. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I'll just start since I don't know a lot about Star Trek, but it's getting out. It's you want to get out of your current day, current life, your work, your family or whatever, escapism. And I wouldn't want to escapism into something like this. That's just my take. What about you, Mo?
I think Alex Kurtzman is a complete moron. People don't go to a restaurant because they serve everything. They serve something. They serve a few things that are good, and you enjoy it, and people tell you about it, so you go to check it out. Star Trek was never meant to be for everybody. It was meant to be for a specific. It was supposed to be like high drama with some crazy action every once in a while to kind of keep it interesting. It was supposed to be like a military drama. It was supposed to be like you're on a ship and you get into fights. But during the times where you're down, you have these interesting personal interactions and stuff like that. And then you have, explorations of space. Well, who knows what the next thing is going to be? It's discovering things. And it's also discovering, even though we have at that point in the 23rd century, 24th century, we've evolved to a point where we can do interstellar travel through warp speed, but we're still the same people underneath. And you can talk about current day stuff, but you have to do it with a light touch, and you have to put it in the universe, and you have to talk about general areas of discussion and themes. Alex Kurtzman is so focused on freaking social justice. That's all he talks about. If you look at him in his meetings, he's like, this is a stage for us to talk about what's going on. No, you're an idiot. You don't understand how the world works. You've lived a charmed life, and you are a talentless idiot. That's what I think.
But let me
Our subject matter expert, Tiny.
Well, I was going to say I disagree with almost everything you said up until the end. He is an idiot and he is awful. But for me, Trek was already for everyone. It was billed when they were first writing it out as a wagon train to the stars. It was supposed to be like a Western in space. And to me, Westerns are for everyone. Not everybody likes Westerns, but there isn't like a specific type of person that a Western is made for. If it's a good Western, it's a good Western, and most people will like it. Not everybody. And for me, that was what Trek was. It was science fiction, but it was open for everyone. And they didn't use a soft touch. I mean, that episode where you've got the guy who's black on one side and white on the other, who hates the guy who's white on one side and black on the other, and that their entire planet is destroyed by this stupid war based on what you look like. And they're the last ones left alive. And instead of realizing, oh my God, we're the last two of our entire planet left alive, we need to stop fighting. No, they as we leave them on their dead planet and the Enterprise goes away, they're still fucking throwing punches at each other.
Right, but you're not thinking about Selma, Alabama when you're watching that.
No, you're not.
Yeah, right.
But
So
yeah.
right.
But when you
that's the difference. That's the light touch. That's putting it
okay.
in a universe where
but I mean, also everyone brings up, especially all the super justice warriors bring up the first interracial kiss on TV. And it's like, yes.
Yeah, that happened in 66 on Star Trek.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you know what most letters were? I would have done it too. She's hot. Yeah, it's like, go for it, Kirk.
My point is there was a lot of, yes, there are things that in our culture right now, that I, as a writer, do not believe are part of a utopian future. That's what Roddenberry was saying with, I think women can be on a bridge. I think that there's no difference between white, black, purple, and green people as long as they're good people. And he was more than willing to shove it in your face a bunch. But at the same time, we've gotten past almost everything that he wanted us to get past. And now they're trying to find new things to be wrong that they can fix because they want it's Munchausen by proxy, just fictional instead of in person. These people have to create problems because they're obsessed with getting the attention for trying to fix them.
Yep. Paper dragons.
And I'm sorry, I don't see a utopia in torturing a giant version of a tardigrade, which is my favorite microscopic creature on the planet.
One thing I want to add, and for me, and this is just my interpretation, Star Trek, the theme of Star Trek was moral dilemmas.
Yep, absolutely.
Perfect example. Perfect example. And I'll cite an episode from TNG. If you guys remember this, I don't remember the name of the episode. It was the episode where Picard shows up. You got these two planets. They're trading. You've got one planet that has the ships that supplies the like a drug to another planet. The other planet thinks they still need the drug to survive, but you come to find out they're addicted to the drug. But the ships are breaking down, and the ships are like, you can't keep the medicine from going to them. It's like, well, I have no obligation to repair your ships. So it was a like moral dilemmas, and I mean, like, there's different answers, solutions to it, but neither of them is necessarily the perfect solution.
Yep.
And that's how Star Trek was. It was, they would propose solutions, have a multifaceted dilemma, and that was what was great about Star Trek. It made you think. It made the audience think. It didn't matter what it was. The audience is like, okay, well, I could see why they would support this, but I could see why they would support this. You know, on either side of the argument.
Well, that's a good point. It's telling, instead of telling you what to think, it's telling you how to think about multiple different views, and then you leave the show saying, "Oh, I didn't think about it like that," and you can start off in one way and understand it from a different perspective. Where it's like a lot of these shows nowadays, it's force fed telling you what to think, and you probably disagree with it. But
so I've got it highlighted here. The interviewer asks him, because remember when Picard came out, Picard season 3. I enjoyed Picard season 3, whether you liked it or not. I thought it was decent. I thought it was a good chef's kiss goodbye to the TNG crew. I thought that the younger crew that was with them, I thought could have been a good crew for a future show, which people called Legacy. This guy asks exactly that. He says, would this streaming movie format be a way to do something like Picard season 3 follow-up, Star Trek Legacy concept? All Alex has to say is sure. And we all know that Alex, I think he felt slighted by the fact that Picard season 3 did so well because he had nothing to do with it.
Yep.
Which is why it's not going forward.
Yep. No, Alex Kurtzman is a salty butthole. He's sad because Metalis stole his lunch. And he got exposed to everybody. And instead of being like, hey, well, maybe I should just go with this. No, he's just, he is what he is. But to put a not too fine of a point on what I was talking about earlier, as far as like, you should be trying to please the fans, and that's it. When you make it for everybody, you make it for nobody. That's the whole
Tardigrade.
thing. You can, tardigrade. Yay, they can exist in outer space. So.
Actually, they can. They can withstand cosmic radiation, the cold of space, and the vacuum pressure of space. They're freaking amazing little creatures.
Oh yeah, no, I've seen that. I've seen that Octonaut
giant
episode
one, and
many
they
times.
tortured the shit out of it every episode. I'm like,
that's the episode I was talking about. Season 1, episode 22. That season 1 was pretty bad, but that was a good episode.
Yep.
Yeah, but then you had like the trial at the Drumhead, which is really great. You had Darmok at Tanagra when the walls.
That's my
fell.
favorite episode.
Yeah, that one's great. You have where they're trying to figure out if Data is a sentient being or not.
Measurement Man.
Yeah, but yeah, it was like really good, and they didn't preach to you. They let you kind of be like a fly on the wall. You felt like you're part of the crew, witnessing all of this.
Mm-hmm.
When Stacey Abrams has to come out on a reinforced floor and like pretend like she is like the president of the earth, that's like, what are you doing? Like it's just talentless dreck. It's garbage. Like, I loved Enterprise. That was not for everybody, but the Zindi timeline, I loved it. Are you kidding me?
Like it because I enjoyed it.
You want to talk about moral dilemma? One of the best acting, the best thing I've ever seen, I've shared it with everybody, is when Archer has to be like, look, these people will be stranded and it'll take them 2 years to get back home, but we need that warp core to be able to save our planet. And he raids another culture to take it. And he's like, he's just basically like, I have a moral dilemma. It's like, it's like, what's less evil, letting our people die or letting them take 2 years to get back home? And it's just like the way that he fights with that. He's like, I know what I need to do. And I know that it's not right in certain circumstances, but this is not a time of peace. This is a time of war. And I have to make a decision here. That was fan-freaking-tastic. And if you haven't seen Enterprise, that scene alone will make you want to watch that show.
Do not watch the last episode. The last episode does not exist.
No.
Ignore the last episode.
Yes.
But also the episode where he goes down to a planet and because he took because he has his beagle, which is his basically his baby. He has a fur baby. And the beagle gets sick. And he's so angry. But at the same time, the beagle peed on their sacred tree. And he's supposed to like do this like wear these weird clothes and do this thing to make amends for the dog pissing on the tree. And he's so angry because his attitude is the dog might die. I don't give a shit about your sacred tree. And then and him and T'Pol have this conversation. It's like, you're gonna have to come up with directives for how you deal with other sentient culture.
I love the one where they have the culture that comes in and sees people eating in the cafeteria, and they're like, "Oh my goodness, what are you guys doing?"
Yeah.
That's how they reproduce.
Eating in public is basically fucking in public for them.
Yeah,
and that's good writing. That's good, different cultures, and then you learn from it.
Yep.
All right. To move
Alf,
on,
you got a super chat?
Well, did we get a super chat?
Is that what I'm looking at?
Holy shit!
That's actually
Mr. Burger for $5 says salty butthole. That was my stripper name in high school. Wow.
You're welcome.
But thank you for your $5. I appreciate it.
That is our first super chat of the show.
Yeah, we had a couple memberships earlier, and then the super chat. That's awesome. You guys are awesome in the audience.
Thank you, Mr. Burger.
I did want to bring this because real quick.
Refill.
Yeah.
By the way, I'm sorry that salty butthole kind
of
made that come into being, but you're welcome. So.
Oh, that's fine. You can come over, sub to my channel. Give me some more subs. That's fine.
Mo, I was showing off my Batman Forever from McDonald's around circa 1995.
I got one for you. I'll be right back. Since we're going to talk about positive stuff. So go ahead.
Actually, one of the reasons I studied anthropology in school was because of Trek. Trek made me love the ideas of xenoanthropology, the idea of understanding other cultures and other peoples. And you can do that right here on Earth because guess what? People don't all think the same.
Yeah, which is a good
human
thing.
nature is a thing, but human nature is very specific with lots of generalizations that go around it. And lots of people who are different than what you think they're going to be. And learning all about that was really, really cool, but also allowed me to be able to look at people and go, yeah, you suck.
Do you mean to wait till Mo gets back?
Well, yeah. Do you just want to get ready going with the Section 31?
Well, yeah, so we talked about Section 31 already, his interview with Alex Kurtzman. I want to add this. Section 31's ratings on Rotten Tomatoes. I see.
That's
you
already
said
out
you wanted,
now, right? When did
yes,
that get released?
It's on streaming.
Yeah,
on Paramount Plus. Yeah. You said you wanted to go
okay.
on to positive. This is actually positive to me because I'm glad to see Alex Kurtzman Trek fail.
Wow, I'm actually surprised at Rotten Tomatoes. Hey, and quick shout out to Critic Lists. So it's an alternative.
Yes.
I don't know a lot about it. I started talking with the guy. I think I met one of the guys at maybe it was a Vegas meetup. But yeah, Critical List. Mo can maybe talk about this a little bit more. But alternative Rotten Tomatoes and really cool guys. They're doing amazing things. Mo.
Yeah. So what it is, first of all, full screen. You're gonna love this.
Okay.
So your Batman glass. Okay.
Yeah.
I see you that
forever. The Val Kilmer.
Val Kilmer, yeah. I have. This is my wife's actually. This is how awesome my wife is.
I actually don't know how to full screen.
I have a Batman 1989 cup from Taco Bell
that's
from
awesome.
89.
Ooh.
Yeah,
Taco Bell, right?
yeah, Taco Bell. See that
Someone else
logo?
I'd be jealous of.
Yeah, look how awesome that is. In perfect shape.
Show the whole thing. Turn it around. Batmobile.
Yeah, I told the other guys,
Got
my
the
mom didn't
specs.
let me go to fast food stuff when I was a kid, so I missed out on all of the toys and the cups
look at
and
that.
the cool stuff.
Yeah, look at
There
that.
you
seat.
go. There you go.
Oh, I am so jealous.
Hell
And
yeah.
it has the
That's
specs.
really cool.
for
I did
how
not
the,
have that one. Or if I did, it got thrown away.
Top speed unknown. 0 to 6.
Oh,
Yeah.
All the
the
stats! That's
stats.
so cool.
Yeah, so you can thank Mrs. Mo for that one. It's pretty
There you
awesome.
go.
Perfect shape. I don't think it's ever been in a dishwasher. So
Good.
yeah.
yeah.
Tell your wife I said she's based.
But yeah, I like Criticalist, but
Tiny
even the
but fair
fact
says you're based. She's right
but
over here. So.
even the fact that Rotten
Yes, you're
Tomatoes,
Thank you, Mrs. Zamboni.
Sorry, go ahead.
even the fact that Rotten Tomatoes, I like Criticalist, but even the fact that Rotten Tomatoes is crushing this,
Yeah.
I feel vindicated.
The world is healing.
Yes.
It is.
So Criticalist is awesome.
Yeah,
it's
what do you know
run
about
by a bunch of upstarts. Not too far away from where I live, but they it's a website, and I can share one of my reviews here, so you can kind of get a flavor of what it's all about.
Yeah, I talked to one of the guys too, and I said that we have
probably
a show
Blaine.
going
Blaine
on.
is really cool.
Yeah, that's who it was. Was Blaine? I
Yep.
said we'd love to have you on sometime.
Yeah, he's awesome. He's good people.
Hold on. Sorry, I want to remove that.
Let me
Stop
find my
presenting.
review.
Stop sharing. Yeah, if you got a link you want to share, go ahead and. I do have something I want to share after this. Something positive that I talked about at the beginning of the stream that I watched.
Too that we can do in the.
Okay, so we just we're doing. I'll give you a little preview. So we're going to talk about on the Monday Hangover. We're going to talk about The Last Starfighter, which we just watched. So here is my review.
Tomorrow?
I'll share it here. Yeah, tomorrow at 6 p.m. Eastern, the only time zone that matters.
Yeah, we live in the mountains.
So there you go. So they have this cool kind of retro aspect to it, but
I like it.
What's underneath the hood is awesome. So when I do my reviews, this is one of my smaller ones. You can actually cover like all the themes, political bias, Obviously, with the 80s, there's very little political bias, like right down the middle on most movies. But basically, you can rate it, and you can give your reasons for the rating, and everybody else can do the same thing. So when you open your feed, you can just see people just like right here. This is just as they come in, and you can rate whatever movie however you want and cover. And there's no critics. It's just everybody. It's a accumulation of everybody's reviews, and you can follow certain people, belong to certain groups. It's an excellent idea, and it makes writing reviews really fun. I hadn't done that in a while, and now I want to do it all the time because it's just a really good platform, and it does a really good job of being able to break apart the things that you like. If it's woke, if it's too preachy, if it's boring, if it's really violent, you can get pretty granular into what's going on. So,
and
awesome.
Weasel dropped a link for Criticalist in the chat, so if you want to go check it out.
Right on.
Yeah, cool guys. I ran into some of them at one of the previous meetups, so that was great.
I wanted to add, so we're going to go on and talk about positive stuff. I'm going to share this. So this is a show I talked about at the beginning of the stream. I recently watched on Apple TV, Masters of the Air. It's made by some of the same group of people that did Band of Brothers, except it covers the air crews that did the bombing campaigns over Europe. I really enjoyed it. It's a great show. It's got good ratings. I would highly suggest it. So it showed just how many airmen we were losing sometime in one day, hundreds per day, just in bombing campaigns and aircraft getting shot down. So that's my positive. Go see it. It's awesome.
Cool. I got a positive one too. If you're ready for that one, that trailer,
Yeah, let me
Flight Risk. I was planning on seeing it yesterday, and then I looked up tickets, and it was over $25, something like that. And I'm like, I think I'll wait till Tuesday when it's $7. But it's directed by Mel Gibson, Topher Grace, Mark Wahlberg, and yeah, let's check out the trailer.
Oh, let me hold on. I don't have the audio. Sorry.
Okay. But yeah, well, Alf plays
Talk
around
amongst
with
yourselves.
that. Yeah, we're figuring out. I know, and I really think for a
As
lot of
you were.
different reasons, the world is healing in different ways. It's probably gonna take a while, but yeah, if we start getting quality things, and even if it doesn't cost a lot of money, like going back to the Godzilla -1, like something like what it was like $10 or $12 million budget, and
I think it was less than 12 is what he said. Somebody
Yeah,
said
and
15, and he's like, I wish I had 15. And I'm like, people are like, what?
Yeah. So when you get people that care about what they're working on, and they can stretch a budget and know what they're doing, you can make something really great.
Well, it's also one of the reasons I got so upset about what has happened with comics, what has happened with Trek, what has happened with all of these things, is as Carl Jung said, that comics were the modern mythos. Every culture, every form of humanity has myths or fables or legends or whatever that tell you how you're supposed to live your life. These are stories that one of the reasons you have them is to teach you the morals and the lessons and the why you don't go in the forest. And when they start messing with them, they're literally messing with the subconscious knowledge and understanding of our children. And I think that's why Gen Z got so screwed.
Yeah, good point.
All right.
You ready, Alf?
Yep. Here we go.
I never flew U.S. Marshal before. Hope you like flying. Beautiful day for it.
I hate when they do that.
Deputy Harris.
Preview to the trailer.
Yeah.
Beautiful day for it. I never flew U.S. Marshal before. Why is he all chained up?
I have to get him to New York so we can testify against the Moretti crime family.
Okay, hey, you're the boss.
All right, pause it real quick.
Yeah.
Do initial. I personally, Operation Security, I would never talk about what you're doing.
Okay, so that wasn't just me. I'm just
Exactly.
like, why the hell did she say that?
Like you can talk in vagaries in general. Be like business, taking care of something.
Or
I mean,
you're flying us to New York, and that's as far as you get to know about this.
If this is a contracted government flight related to a felon or someone who was caught, like a high priority target, they're going to have the contract set up beforehand. They're going to know it's something to deal with the government, but they're not going to tell you any details.
And if you've done this flight before, you would know not to ask.
Yeah.
Which is a good point. That might be a red flag moment to her. Be like, okay.
Yeah, like, why are you asking? And also, I've never flown a U.S. Marshal before. Huh? Why would they use a tiny little plane from someone who's never done this? I just assumed you use the tiny little plane because it's a company that you use regularly.
Yep. And I'm not talking crap. I'm like, okay, maybe this is building up. It's some foreshadowing, or it's building up to something great, which we'll see what happens.
Drew, you said you saw this, right?
No, I'm gonna see it on Tuesday now.
Ah, okay. All right, you ready?
Yeah.
I'm dancing nervous and I
Is it always this bumpy?
A number of passengers have left their lunch up here. I can open a snack bar.
can't sleep cause my bed's on fire.
Your neck okay? You got a scratch there.
Maintenance. Occupational hazard.
Don't touch me. Don't touch me. I'm a real life fire. Psycho killer. Qu'est-ce que c'est?
Moretti's very disappointed in you, Winston, and he wants you dead.
The hair.
Don't shoot him, we need him!
Mayday. We've been
You got the Jeremy from Geeks and Gamers haircut going on.
Yeah.
Kidding. But
wow, that is funny. An awful wig. I'm sorry.
It really is. It's so bad.
No, what are your initial thoughts?
I think it looks like it's going to be a popcorn movie, so I can turn my brain off if it's going to be ridiculous. But
it's going to be ridiculous.
It's going to be obviously they're in a Cessna fighting.
Yeah,
So I don't know. Whatever. Turn your brain off. Give me some popcorn. Let's go.
Which is fine.
They're flying to New York. Where are they flying from? That it looks like they're flying over the freaking Himalayas.
Yeah, good question.
Yeah, why? I mean, unless they're connecting somewhere else, there's no reason they would fly that plane all the way to New York from, say, wherever they're at, the Rockies or something. They would connect in a bigger city and get on a actual flight
Yep, and that's a good point. So if somebody asks you where you're going, I'm going to this next place, and that's all you need to know. Where I'm going from there is our thing. But yeah, I've heard good things because I guess it takes a lot. The whole movie, a lot of it takes place in the plane, similar to like a phone booth and a few other movies like that.
Well, I mean, it was probably a cheap movie to make, so I mean, they'll probably still make profit off of it regardless.
Yeah, which is great because like even the Ryan Gosling one about a year ago, which I was fine with. It was an amazing movie, but it did what it needed to do. The Fall Guy.
I loved that.
Yeah.
Oh, I loved that so much. My mom and I went and saw. I think we went and saw it a second time. We loved it so much.
Yeah, I think we were the only ones that saw it.
Yeah,
I
want to go see it. I want to go see it. I love. Oh, go ahead.
My dad is a lighting director, and he's does camera. And when he was young, he was a roadie with the Rolling Stones and the Grateful Dead, and so he does all the tech, all that stuff. And my mom did costumes for a while, even on off Broadway. So I grew up with theater and with TV and stuff like all around me. So it was like a whole movie for me. It was like, oh, I know what he's gonna do. Oh yeah, it was so funny to us. We just thought it was one of the funniest, best movies we'd seen in a while. But if you're not part of that industry, it probably isn't quite as funny.
That's okay. I appreciate it for what I saw in the film. Because I like talent and quality.
Ryan Gosling is an entertainer, man. When he was singing as Ken at the Oscars last year, that was hilarious. Like all he wants to do is put on a good movie. The Nice Guys, love that movie with him and Russell Crowe, where he's a raging alcoholic. And my favorite part is like where he's just like he gets like pissed drunk and he thinks that Russell Crowe has a derringer in his ankle. So like later in the movie, he goes to try to grab it, and Russell Crowe's like, "What are you doing?" He's like, "Don't you have a pistol here?" He's like, "No." And you just realize that he was passed out drunk dreaming about it. And but he does such a good job. And you can tell all he wants to do is have fun and let other people have fun.
Yep.
Like what he thinks about who he votes for at that point, I don't care. Because all he wants to do is make your day better. To me, that's commendable. I think Ryan Gosling is an actor's actor and he's an entertainer's entertainer. Like he reminds me of like really, really old school entertainers. So
yeah. Oh, and also like he did an interview that I read when he was about like 23 or 24, I think. When he was young Hercules. I don't know if any of you guys watched Young Hercules, but after the Kevin Sorbo show did so well, they made a young Hercules, and he was young Hercules, and he was actually pretty good. The show, I mean, it had even less to do with myths, with actual myths and history than the original show, which I loved, but had nothing to do with the myths. Correct.
So let's see how many bad accents Mark Wahlberg can fire off by the end of the trailer.
Let's
just real quick.
We'll wrap it up.
Yeah, just real quick. But Gosling did the interview, and he said he was really worried about playing like pretty boy roles for the rest of his life. So he's trying to find some more darker and more stuff. And you can see that he did do that. You can look at his background, but he did that. He proved himself as an actor, and now he's going back to just having fun.
Yeah,
he's gone full circle all the way around to basically having as much fun as he did when he was playing young Hercules.
All right, let's go ahead and finish this clip.
Compromised. The pilot's a hitman.
I'm gonna tear you apart. The tiny little pieces. They're gonna need the entire forensics team to identify you.
Tell me how to fly this thing, or we will die out here.
Clearly, you've mistaken me for somebody who actually gives a
You hear that? Looks military.
You think it's there to help? He's there to shoot you down.
All right, I gotta add. So, as an Air Force guy, having worked with fighter jets, the fighter jets are not going to be able to go slow enough to stay with that Cessna.
Yeah, they're not going to be on the same level.
They will stall out before they can stay level with a Cessna like that. That's not going to happen. All right.
But it's not as cool as you actually see the kilo.
Come on, damn it!
Y'all need a pilot?
That's awesome.
That is a very, very durable little Cessna.
Yeah.
Final thought on the trailer? Anybody?
Grab your
Well, it should be
popcorn.
fun.
It's
Turn
like
off your
Mo
brain.
said. It's a
Yep.
turn off your brain movie, which we could use
I'm all
more of
for it.
those these days. Ones that aren't political. It's just action. You don't have to think much. I'm okay with that. But yeah, we used to have a lot more of those.
Yeah, I'm okay
Yes.
with it. And there was another interview that I was watching with Mark Wahlberg, and it's going back to like one of his first movies was Fear with Reese
Right.
Witherspoon. If
Right,
you haven't
where
seen
he's
it,
that
watch it.
crazy obsessive boyfriend.
Yeah, he's nuts in it, and I was getting those kind of vibes in the trailer and on the interview that he gave. So yeah, I'm gonna go see this on Tuesday.
All right.
Cool beans.
Uh,
Let us know.
Yeah, let's wrap it up there. Just keep it under 2 hours. Mo, tell us what you're doing this week.
Okay, so tomorrow I will be doing the Monday Hangover, where we will be talking about The Last Starfighter, and before that we'll probably cover some items in pop culture going on. But it's always positive. We always, unless somebody rates a movie in a more poor fashion than we think, then we'll just destroy them like you should. So that's fun in and of itself. But then I'll be doing Off the Hip with ABF on his channel, Alec Baldwin's Finger. And then I'll be doing Late and Gay with the GCA on Wednesday at 8:30 Eastern. So nice full docket. Having fun doing this. So thanks for having me on, guys.
Yeah,
no
are you gonna be
problem.
watching
Pleasure.
anything, playing anything?
Playing anything? PUBG. I'm stuck in my own thing, but watching, we'll see. I actually would like to see that movie. The Fall Guys, I totally forgot about that. I wanted to watch that when it came out on.
It's on
streaming,
somewhere. It's
so-
on what, Max? I think it's on.
Oh
Max.
yeah, I'll definitely check it out. I love Ryan Gosling. Is always a good watch, man. He even if it's a bad movie, he'll pull it up by the bootstraps and make it enjoyable. So I know I'll get my money's worth whenever I watch his movies. So absolutely.
Awesome. Cool. Tiny, what do you got going on?
Not a huge amount at the moment, which is a good thing. I have insert title here every Friday at 9:30 Pacific. That is Drunken Emerald Arrow, Darnell Quigley, Theo Snodgrass, myself, and then we generally have Screams Queen Selena and Iron Oxide come on a bunch. We bring other people in on and off, and we just talk about what's going on in the world. We're not nearly as actually good at like having topics and sticking to topics. It's just a bunch of friends hanging out and talking on a Friday night. I'm here now every Sunday. This was our episode 0. And you can find me on X/Twitter at won't be boxed. And we'll see if I can actually get my own channel up and running so that I can do the thing for my boys for Valentine's Day. I have no idea if this will actually get going, but if it does, great. And if it works out and anyone out there is single and wants to be on the show, cool. We'll see what we
good
can
idea.
do.
Yeah, just one step at a time, and yeah, we'll figure it out from here. And yeah, Horny Alf said in the chat, it's a weekly show we're doing here. So at this time, or 2 hours ago, whatever time zone you're on, no mountain times. I'm just kidding. That was,
No, you're not.
Always
You're
forgets
absolutely
mountain
correct.
time.
7
yeah, I
p.m.
think the
Eastern.
three of us.
That's all that matters.
Yeah, we're covering everything but mountain time in the U.S. with the 3 or 4 of us here. Alf, do you want to pull up anybody else in the chat that maybe you didn't pull up before? Do you see any?
Andy Pickle was here. Say hey to him. He's a regular in my channel every so often. We had to Beast. I think we covered everyone. I think I basically gave an example of everyone brought up in the chat. So
Hell
Luna
yeah.
J.
Yeah,
Lane.
the Beast with the 5 memberships. Yep.
I love that.
with
Oh, she was
Austin.
talking about Tilly there. 200 pounds is being nice. But yeah, I think I brought everyone up.
Yep, and
At
then that
least
Mr.
once.
Burger for the $5 chat, so super chat. So thank you so much for that.
There you go. 7 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Central.
Wow, that is cursed. I don't ever want to see that again.
Alf, where can people find you? What are you watching? What are you playing this week?
So, I am Horny Alf. You can check out my YouTube channel. Most of the people that are watching on YouTube are watching on my channel. So you already know where I'm at, but you can go check out my channel on YouTube for those who are watching on your streams that don't know me. I also do gaming streams. That's the main focus of my channel. I stream games 5 to 6 times a week. Tomorrow, I'm probably going to be continuing my playthrough of Skyrim, so come check that out. Wednesday, I usually do, lately I've been playing War Thunder, and I might have King's Advisors on to play that with me. He's one of the friends of, you know him. You know him.
Yes, I
So-
got to talk with him at length. That
Yeah,
man
he's a good
has
dude.
got problems, but he's wonderful. Yes.
Yeah, he's gonna play some War Thunder with me on Wednesday. Friday nights we play Darktide, Warhammer Darktide. Saturdays we play Warhammer Vermintide 2 currently, and then Sundays will be this. So that's where we're at. Oh,
I totally forgot. Oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
Finish.
Oh,
Go finish, Alf.
I also stream on Rumble, Kick, and Twitch. So whatever pick your poison.
I also totally forgot that every other Saturday I do D&D with Heavy Metal Nate. It's a really fun. We're doing Curse of Strahd right now, and Darnell has turned into a vampire, and it's a lot of fun. If you want to come watch or be involved in the chat, and I'm now going to be a regular on Theo Snodgrass's Touch Grass with Theo Snodgrass at 11 a.m. on Saturday mornings. 11 a.m. Pacific time. See, I do remember my friends.
There you go.
Eventually.
Oh yeah. Well, yeah, I'll wrap it up there. You can find me at Drew Outstanding on X, also known as Twitter formerly. Yeah, well, this is gonna be my show that with these 3 other awesome people, awesome, outstanding people. We'll have a max amount of 6 people on, so it'll be a small panel, and then 1, 2, or 3, guests, regulars jumping on. And then and then I'm on Mellow Monday as well. So I just started on there, so I don't have all the details, but that's my plan. I'm going to do something pretty awesome. I did some adaptive sports, adaptive sit-down skiing yesterday for the first time this season. So I got more into that, which is awesome. I'm going to do more ability stuff. And then this coming week, I'll be going to a location that I've never been to and doing some more sit-down skiing.
Nice.
Well, that's me. Yep, Drew Outstanding. So thank you all so much. The super chats, the guests, the regulars, the people who put this on. So thank you for attending our first show. Later.
Later.
Bye-bye.